Okay, so it's the early hours of the morning here in the UK, and I believe my American fan base or subscribers are up. And we've got a brand new release of Gamebase 64 Collection version 19. So this version came out around a day and a half ago, and I've literally just come across it myself a few hours ago. I do update myself from time to time with Gamebase, and I was really surprised to see this one is actually out. So what is Gamebase? Gamebase is a front end, and we've got a version for Commodore 64. So essentially, it's the entire catalogue of Commodore 64 games, plus extras, which means that we got artwork, advertisements for old games from say 1982 up until 2023. It's literally a whole database dedicated to Commodore 64. We can play games in here, and I'm going to show you how to do this in this setup guide. So I'm going to show you where to download Gamebase 64. I'm also going to be showing you how to set up Vice Emulator to pair with Gamebase 64 version 19. And trust me, this is well going to be worth your while if you're new to Gamebase 64. Check this one out. So I've got some good news going out to my Commodore 64 subscribers and passers-by. We have got a new version of Gamebase, which is Gamebase version 19. So around a month ago, I released a setup guide for version 0.18, and if you're a big Commodore 64 fan like myself, you're going to love Gamebase. So I'm going to show you where to get Gamebase 64 version 19, and we're going to go over to the website here. This is Gamebase 64. Now, before you're considering downloading Gamebase 64 from this official website, the problem is that the person who was taking charge of this recently died. And in fact, this is a picture of him here as a kid, I believe. And so what I've done is gone over to the Commodore 64 community, which is, of course, Lemon 64. And somebody here who seems to be working with the rest of the team at Gamebase have actually uploaded it, and we can download it. So it's a big file to download, and it's going to be around 15 gigabyte. Now, by downloading this, it's going to take you over to Mega, and Mega's only going to allow you to download around 28% of this, and that's a problem. So you've got a couple of choices. You can either pay around £9 in the UK, it was for me, to join this website to download this entire file, and that's going to allow us to download around 2 terabytes. So literally all I want this for is this new version of Gamebase, being such a C64 fan, as a lot of you is probably aware. So if you don't want to pay for it, then you can wait 5 to 6 hours, and then you can start downloading the rest of it. But to save yourself a headache, just pay the £9. So what we're going to do then in this setup guide is actually assume that you've downloaded it and you're a little bit confused of how to use Gamebase. And granted, it is very confusing to begin with. It took me a little while to figure it out during the setup guide for version 18 that I uploaded a little while back. So my downloads for this is now complete, and this is what you're downloading. So like I say, 15 gigabyte is a massive file for Commodore 64, that is. But as we can see, I've already got Gamebase set up. So what I'm going to do is just extract all the folders, and I'm going to show you how this needs to be laid out, and then we're going to go to incorporating everything into Gamebase, and I'm going to go through the installation of Gamebase itself. Okay, so finally after around 15 minutes of extracting everything, inside your GB64 folder, we're going to have extras, games, screenshots, and we still got the Gamebase 64 version 19 installer to do. So what I find is really useful is this actually comes with a text document. If you open up the text document, you've got a series of numbers and letters here, and if you look at the end, it's got A, C, D, G, M, O, P, S. Now, each one of these letters belongs to a particular folder. So if you extract each one of these into a dedicated folder, like I've got here, so under extras, I've got all of these folders inside with goodies, and extras corresponds to the archives A, C, D, M, O. And it's kind of like that, so you'll work your way around it, but as long as you've got a nice structure just here within the GB64 folder, that's all good to go. So what we're going to do next then is install Gamebase 64 version 19, so double left click on that, and if you get an unknown publisher, make changes to your device, just press yes. And here we go, so I accept the agreement, next, and next again, and install. And setup is finished installing Gamebase 64 on your computer, so let's finish this. Okay then, so once you've installed Gamebase, if it's your first time, you should see a little icon or a shortcut appear on your desktop. And you'll likely have one of these as well, the Gamebase toolbox. Now, because I've already got Gamebase 64 installed on my computer, so if I just click on version 19, now if this is your first install, you'll just have GBC V19. You won't have any of these others, but I'm a big 8-bit freak, especially C64, so I'm going to open up the new Gamebase version 19. And here we go. So everything's a little bit dull at the moment, nothing's going to play. So what we're going to do is actually start setting stuff up. So as we know, we've got these folders in the GB64 folder. So first of all, in Gamebase 64 front ends, what we need to do is just go to Tools, and if we go to GBC V19 Paths, we've now got to connect these to our GB64 folder. So let me show you what I mean. If I keep on Games just here and just left click on this little square, we can then go to the desktop, and here's my GB64 folder I've created. And here's my games folder. If I just OK on this one, next up what I'm going to do is go to pictures, and again we're going to go to the square icon, and on my desktop we can see GB64. We're going to go in there and select screenshots and OK, and extras, again square just there, and we're going to go back to desktop, GB64, and choose extras. OK. And we're going to OK that again, and as we can see, we've now got some pictures, but we need to clarify everything's working OK and nothing's missing. So to do this, what we're going to do is go to Tools, Verify Available Files, and we're going to click on Games, Pictures and Extras, and just press on Start, and that's going to verify everything, and it's also going to detect if anything's missing. So when it starts off with 0, hit the front just there, that's fine. If you get numbers appear, then you're going to be missing something. So it's actually missing some extras, but I'm not too concerned about that at the moment, so we're just going to close this. Now, if I click on a game to play a game, normally you have to press play game just there, and it'll normally boot up Vice. So we're going to need to configure to run with this Gamebase front end, so we're going to go to Gemus at the top, and from here we're going to go to Emulator, Setup Wizard. And we're going to press Start here, and select the system you like to set up, obviously Commodore 64, so press Next. Now it's asking us to find the path of where our emulator is installed. So you need to go and grab yourself a copy of Vice, which I recommend, and you need to pop that onto your computer, and I recommend putting that into your GB64 folder where I've just put everything else. So this is the Vice emulator website, and the version I go for is going to be Vice 3.7, and this is for 64 CPUs. I'm using a 64-bit computer, and I'm going to select the GTK3 versions. Just download this, and that's going to take you to SourceForge. So emulator is now downloading, that's fine. So what we're going to do is just open this folder and just back out of here entirely. In fact, just close down emulator wizard. We're going to get onto that in a minute. Just minimize this. Now back in my GB64 folder, I'm going to just drag this emulator inside of here. So there's lots of bits and pieces to do to set up Gamebase 64, but trust me, it's worth it once it's been set up correctly. Okay, so in our GB64 folder, we got extra still, game and screenshots, which we've just connected to Gamebase. And we've also now got the emulator, which is Vice. So if we go back to Gamebase again, back to Gmuse, and we're going to select Emulator Setup Wizard one last time, press Start, and Commodore 64 next. Now this time, we're going to set the path of this to our GB64 folder. So if I just click on the horizontal lines, and find my GB64 folder again, I'm going to just left click on this one just here, press OK, next. And here we go. So if we just scroll down, so from here we need to select the emulators we wish to set up. So the version of Vice which we just downloaded was 3.7. So if we just search for 3.7 of WinVice, and here it is. So they're already selected, but I just want to make sure they are checked. So that's it. All we're going to do now is press finish and close. Okay, so as we can see, we got play game icon, which has now appeared and it's ready to go. But we need a controller set up for this. So I've just connected my Google Stadia controller, and I'm going to randomly open up this game Imperium. Now if you're new to Vice, then to connect your joystick or your controller, just left click on joysticks at the bottom, configure joysticks, joystick 1, 6 axis is my controller, so select that. Now just remember that Commodore 64 games predominantly run from port 2, so if we go to swap joysticks, that's now changed over to joystick 2, and settings on exit. And I'm pressing on my D-pad now, and as we can see, the lights are now glowing up. Now in this game's case, it's loaded the program, but we need to type in run. And this should now boot. And we've also got a warp button just here. If we just left click on there, it will literally warp your game to make it speed up. And spacebar normally acts as a real spacebar on a real C64. We've also got a pause button on Vice. Now, to make this into full screen, if you just double left click anywhere on the game screen, said I've honestly no idea what this is, so let me just give you a little walk around Gamebase 64. So you'll notice that if I click on a game, you got information of the game, when it was published, who developed it, who coded it, and right at the bottom under music we got the SID musician, we got number of players, we got the game genre, And we can actually define this even further. So if we go up to view at the top here, and if we go down to category window, if we just open this, we can define what we're looking for. Let me give you an example. If we go to years and select years, I'm going to try the year 2023. And here we go. We have got all the releases so far for the year 2023. Very cool stuff. 2022. If you're into your Commodore 64 modern day games like I am, really this is going to blow your socks off. You know, and this is going to go back, I take it, to 1982, which is when the C64 released, but for some reason this is going back to the 70s. So 1982, we've got all our games for 1982. My birth year, 1983, I wouldn't have thought much good was out back in 1983, it's a long time ago. So anyways, that's how you use the view section just there. And something else very cool with this, if we go to publishers, which is just here, we got a whole list here of publishers. So let's check out something like Codemasters. So there's a few Codemasters releases there. Commodore Format, obviously that was a British magazine by Future Publishing. I presume Commodore Format had a team who made their own games for the magazine from time to time. We got CP Verlag, which was a German publisher of a magazine, I believe. So we got a whole section there of CP Verlag games. And really, the list is endless. It really is just awesome stuff. And you know what? Flimsoft, this is actually my old publishing label. That's me, Flimsoft. And the reason I called Flimsoft is that I'm a big Flimbo's Quest fan. And everything seems to have soft in it. So I just went, say, Flimsoft. But actually, funny enough, it's actually missing the first game I published, which was Alien Bash 2. But never mind about that. So if we go back here, we got programmers. And genres is also a really good section to take a look at. If you're into platformers, then just look for platformers, arcade games, everything's listed just there. And in Gamebase, if there's a game you want to jump back into, if you just go to recent at the top, here's a list of the games that we've recently looked at. So let's open up Outbreak, which is a Flimsoft game. Let's promote myself from around 10 years ago. So original disc of Outbreak by Flimsoft, press play. Joystick, configure, and I'm going to just go to joystick till we configure this one in close. Whoops, save settings. And of course use warp and just run. Now let me tell you something, if you're running a cartridge game you won't need to type in run. So that's just that, this is a disk image. And of course the reason Outbreak was only a demo, a preview actually, was that Flimsoft came to a little end. I was very busy at the time bringing up a couple of youngsters and life was very chaotic. So that's that. But anyways, if you're interested in Flimsoft, I did a video about a year ago. It's in my playlist somewhere, and you can hear about what I got to say from back in those days. It was sort of fun times. But yeah, there we go. So 2013, this game was published. Well, apparently published, but like I said, it wasn't published. It was still in development. And the extras, which we pathed up just a minute ago, let me show you how this works. So what I'm going to do is go back to category window. And I'm going to just go back to years and I'm going to select something like 1987. So let's pick a game from 1987, I don't know, Yogi Bear, whatever. let's go to extras, original tape. So under extras, we got the option here to load this from a cassette tape, which is known as a .tap. And back to extras, cover. This is the original cover for Yogi Bear, which released in 1987. Extras, so this would have been published by Alternative Software as well, so we got an alternative cover for this. And here it is. So Alternative Software was a budget range label from back in the day. As you can see, $1.99, that cost £1.99 at the time in local corner shops. And back to extras, and we've even got adverts here under extras. So this looks like a Spanish advertisement for the game. And if we go to 1990, I'm going to just search my all-time favorite game, which is Flimbo's Quest. If we go here, extras, you've got a lot of different artwork in everything else. So every game is different. Every game has got different artwork, different adverts. If we go to the bottom advert, this was probably from a magazine, something like Commodore format, whereas advertising the latest System 3 games, and there's Flimbo. And advert. So again, another general advertisement for the game, Flimbo's Quest. And this looks like the inside of a Kicks game. So obviously Kicks was another label cassette games on Commodore 64 predominantly. And when you opened up the inlay, you would have likely have seen something like this inside. And we've even got a manual just here. So here we go. This is the complete inlay for Flimbo's Quest with the instructions inside. So it's been a little while since I've looked inside of the inlays, but awesome stuff. Good times. And like I was saying just now, if we want to load up a particular game so like I was just saying just now, if we want to load up a particular game in a particular format, remember Commodore 64 had cassette tapes, discs, cartridges. On some games we've got the option here. So for example, if I want to load up Flimbo's Quest from original cartridge, which was the C64 Game System cartridge, which I had as a kid, left. And here we go, we're straight in. So let's just go to joysticks, configure, and swap joysticks. Now, this was the first thing I booted up on Christmas Day in 1990. So let's go for a bit of clacks. So anyways, I'm going off a little bit topic. Just there. So this is pretty much how you set up Gamebase 6. So this is pretty much how you set up Gamebase 64 collection version 19. So there's a lot of messing around to do with files in connecting things, but as you can see, once you've set this up, it totally is worth it. It really is. And if you haven't paid a subscription to download it from Mega, it's worth your £9 as well, or say $11 or $12 if you're in the States. So that's it for my Gamebase 64 version 19 setup guide today. I can appreciate there's a lot in there to take in if you're brand new to Gamebase. During the last video of setting up Gamebase version 18, I had to learn it for myself, like I do on a lot of my setup guides, learn for the first time, but it actually isn't that bad. So if you do mess anything up and your games aren't playing, artwork isn't showing, your best bet is just to go back, delete everything and restart. So anyways, if you're new to my channel and you like what you see today, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss upcoming retro emulation content on my channel, just Jamie. And be sure to follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok and Facebook. But until next time, stay retro.